All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. My name is Eric Cho. I am the Director of Sales Engineering at Nexenta. I'm filling in for Mike Letchin, who was supposed to be the moderator for today. But due to unforeseen circumstances, he was unable to join us, but I'm going to be filling in. Today, we're going to be discussing three main companies. We're going to be discussing Nexenta, SanDisk, and Peak 10. For those of you that may not be aware of who we are, Nexenta is a software-defined storage company that provides software solutions for the enterprise. We'll be speaking with Chad Buzzard, who is the Director of Cloud Infrastructure at Peak 10. Peak 10 is an IT infrastructure solutions provider with an extensive presence in the US. And we'll be speaking with Bill Schreckenstein. Bill is a solutions architect and technologist at SanDisk. The purpose of today's webinar is going to be to really learn about Chad's journey on the software-defined solution. He was looking at possible avenues for a disaster recovery as a service solution. But first, we'll be learning more about his company, what he does. This is as much about Nexenta and SanDisk as it is about Peak 10. We really wanted you, the audience, to learn about them, and hopefully you can see some value for your own infrastructures or your own companies. Next, we'll be discussing a little bit about Nexenta software-defined storage benefits, what we do, a part of how we work, how we see ourselves as the glue for software-defined storage solutions. And we'll be speaking with SanDisk. SanDisk provides a very unique platform for storage solutions, primarily their InfiniFlash JBOD or JBOF, just a bunch of flash. And then finally, we'll be speaking again with Chad to learn about why Peak 10 chose Nexenta and SanDisk for his solution, to learn, to kind of get some insight into their decision-making process. After that, we'll be having a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please submit them through the GoToWebinar portal. I'll be monitoring them, and we'll be answering them during the Q&A section. So please feel free to submit any questions that you may have. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Chad Buzzard. Chad will introduce himself and the company as well. Chad?
Thanks, Eric. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning for those on the earlier time zones. My name is Chad Buzzard. I work on our infrastructure team here at Peak 10. We support our cloud computing, disaster recovery, and data protection solutions for the products we offer as a company. Any questions, like Eric said, feel free. I'll answer whatever I can. Whatever I may not be able to answer, we'll definitely get follow-up information for those interested. Next slide, please. So as Eric mentioned, Peak 10 is a national information technology infrastructure solutions provider. We deliver secure, compliant, and flexible IT infrastructure through our data center, cloud, connectivity, and managed service IT solutions. For these customers, Peak 10 serves, sorry, Christina. For these customers, Peak 10 serves as an extension of its customers' internal IT teams, helping them lower costs, improve performance, and keep internal IT resources focused on their core competencies. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk through this one here from left to right. For those who don't know who Peak 10 is, we were founded in 2000 as a data center co-location company. We have grown to operate 16 data center campuses in 10 US markets. Our solution stack has grown to include cloud and managed services. Because we can accommodate physical customer assets under the same roof as our cloud infrastructure and connectivity services, we're a great fit for people with a hybrid IT strategy. Why customers choose Peak 10? We choose to engage with our customers and our prospects in a manner that is kind of air quote, we get in the boat together. Our solutions design teams work together with our customers to whiteboard a solution, but not only considering the technical, but also financial and operational impacts of a plan. If you look at the right-hand slide, or the right-hand part of the slide there in the loyalty, this customer intimacy is what has led us to having an industry-leading Net Promoter Score for the last several years. If you're not familiar with Net Promoter Score, anytime you call somebody or get customer service or look for a product, you oftentimes get that survey after the fact. How satisfied were you? Would you recommend this to somebody? That survey data is what's collected to generate these NPS, and as you can see, Peak 10, we stay in that best-in-class leader category. On the top right there, in the certifications, we have a comprehensive compliance program that is a true differentiator for our company. Whether it's co-location or cloud, security is a top priority to Peak 10. Since we're going to talk a bit today about DR as a service, you'll see in that first bullet, Peak 10 was the first Cisco certified DRaaS provider in the Americas. And then finally in the bottom right there, growth and revenue. Our customers grow with us. Over half of our company revenues come from existing growth of existing customers. With that customer engagement model, that intimacy, we look to build those long-term relationships, enabling our customers to grow as their needs change. Next slide, please. Peak 10 serves customers with national and global IT requirements from those 16 campuses, consisting of more than 860,000 square feet, serving more than 2,200 customers across 10 markets in the U.S. So if you look at the map real quick, it's a depiction, our customers in the blue dots. We go coast to coast, top to bottom. Just shows a representation of some of where our customers are in the U.S. Next slide, please. Customer workloads and our solution options. So this is the age-old adage of the right tool for the right job. If you look at the top there, that's an example of different customer workloads that may come to us, whether it's email or ERP, DR, production, test dev, CRM. It's a matter of picking our right product offering to meet those needs. Our product offerings there and the boxes in the middle are a good bucket of some things we can bring in that flexible IT solution. So starting on the left, you'll see it may be customer's premise. So that's their own hardware and their own data center. But we might bring managed services or connectivity options to bear for a solution. Co-location, this is where we were forged. This is where we were founded from. We have 16 data center campuses. Customer may bring their own hardware into one of those and leverage the availability of Peak 10 data centers for space and power, cooling, and then whatever connectivity needs to satisfy their needs. Public cloud, we offer a multi-tenant shared infrastructure public cloud solution in multiple locations. This is not just a test dev cloud. We run numerous high-end, high-performing production customer systems every day. We do offer a consumption-based, metered pay-as-you-go object storage. This is globally available, just an internet URL, for whatever your use case might be, whether it's archive or file sync and share or long-term retention for backups. For those needing more of a private cloud solution, they want single tenancy, dedicated hardware. We do offer private cloud solutions in multiple locations as well. And rounding out the cloud stack is our recovery cloud. It's a DR infrastructure as a service solution, and that's one we'll be talking more about today in this flash solution. At the bottom there in the blue are the advanced pieces that wrap all this together in that hybrid IT strategy. So that might be a managed service, such as backups. Advanced client services, think of that as professional services. And then core to all this is connectivity. Whether you have public cloud, private cloud, your on-prem gear, you need to connect it all together so your applications are working as expected, of course. And we can do that through private line connectivity, internet connectivity, or hyperscaler connectivity, should that be a need. So we bring all those pieces together in this ever-complex world of hybrid IT. Next slide, please. So the Peak 10 disaster recovery as a service, which we call Recovery Cloud, and what became our need for an all-flash solution that we delivered through software-defined storage. Our Recovery Cloud provides a cost-effective, highly flexible DR as a service solution that ensures rapid recovery of mission-critical applications. It's a software-based solution. It has industry-leading RPO and RTOs to meet those strict business requirements. It offers a continuous data protection solution, which enables customers to do a DR test, do your functional, execute your tests in parallel on the side in a sandbox, all the while maintaining RPO. So should you have a need to execute while you're 6 hours into a test, you can declare and execute and have most likely submitted RPO without having 6 hours of lost data because you were testing. We do offer two solutions. So it's a DRaaS solution, which would be a customer in their premise, your own data center somewhere in the world, coming across the internet and into our recovery cloud. And we also offer an intra-cloud solution where our Peak 10 cloud, whether it be multi-tenant or single-tenant, is the source, and our recovery cloud is the target in a different location. We offer our current solution in 3 different tiers to meet different requirements for different workloads. Next slide, please. So Peak 10, we launched our recovery cloud in the second half of 2000, our initial offering. It was at the time a single offering, one size fits all. Again, through that engagement model, over the course of time, things change. We listen to our customers. There's different requirements or requests to do DR differently. It no longer fits in one solution. So in 2016, we launched the multi-tiered recovery cloud. We adjusted the first one a bit and added 2 new features or 2 new levels. And that's everything from a premium single tenant dedicated compute, extremely low RPO, RTO, high-end need for a business application, to the lower essential side, which is maybe it's a tier 3 multi-day RTO, and it can be in a shared environment. As we were doing this, we knew that our 3.5-year-old platform, to meet the demands of premium and some of the revamped prime solutions, we were going to need faster storage. We were going to need a flash solution. But how do we deliver that in a DR offering that's cost effective? And that's what took us down our journey as we started talking to SanDisk and Nexenta.
Great, thank you, Chad. We'll be back with him in a little bit to learn more about his thought process on the features and whatnot that he was looking for with Nexenta and SanDisk. But for the next couple of slides, we just kind of want to talk to you about Nexenta and about SanDisk, what we provide, what we do. So starting with Nexenta, we are a software-defined storage company. To be clear, because that, from speaking with so many customers, that terminology, that term is so loaded depending on the context that the person or customer heard it from. The way we define software-defined storage is a software-only solution that you can apply to server-grade hardware to morph that into an enterprise storage platform. So we've been doing this since about 2008. We essentially sell an operating system to our customers, which then they install on their servers, and it's off and running. We've been around for several years, but one of the key things for us is we have about 6,000 deployments worldwide, about exabyte and a half under management. So many of our deployments are extensive and large, across the globe. Next slide, Christina. One of the really powerful value propositions of Nexenta is the fact that customers can run on whatever hardware that they want. There's no lock-in from that perspective on any protocol that you want to access and within any potential ecosystem that you want to leverage. In a traditional storage model, with the 3-letter companies that are out there, so many of us are used to purchasing a black box, a system that is hardware and software all in one. But in other avenues, in other parts of our data center, we are absolutely used to a separated model. VMware is a good example. With VMware, you have a server, and you have ESXi, the operating system that runs on top of that. If you want to replace the underlying hardware in several years, you absolutely can. You're not rebuying that vSphere license again. With storage, however, we've been brainwashed to accept purchasing a brand new box, hardware and software, during every refresh cycle. Our software allows customers to break that cycle, go back to a traditional model of purchasing hardware and software lockstep with how you want to do it, and also getting access to industry best hardware, which is really where the SanDisk piece fits in here with the all-flash. Our protocols range from block and file, which we'll get into in the next slide, and we provide all the latest feature sets that customers would expect. Next slide, please. So at Nexenta, we feel that storage especially in the last 5 or 6 years, has kind of just plateaued off in terms of features. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, dedupe was new, thin provisioning was coming out, tiering was new, inline compression was the next cool thing. But as these new features came out, many customers gravitated to these things, but every other vendor started adopting these same feature sets. And in that process, everything kind of got standardized. And now customers have expectations on these feature sets and wanting them on whatever platform they might move to. Because we are software defined, because we are a software company, we can define these features within our operating system and provide them to you, the customer, which as long as you're up to date on maintenance and paying support. I use the analogy that this is kind of like buying a Tesla car. Tesla's main story, the car gets better over time using the same car because the software updates continually improve it. In Nexenta, we feel that that's a very similar story with us. So as you can see through these various bullet points, we support all the latest feature sets, block and file. We scale up to multi-petabytes, unlimited file system size, snapshotting and clones, data reduction in line, and we also do the protection of the drives from the software itself. Next slide. So at this point, I want to pass this off to Bill. Bill's going to be talking about the SanDisk solution. The really cool thing about SanDisk and Nexenta is the partnership where we provide the glue for the hardware and the applications, and the platforms, the hardware, is provided by awesome platforms like what we're going to be discussing with InfiniFlash. So Bill, go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. So what we're really going to talk about today is the InfiniFlash, and for those of you that don't know, SanDisk was recently acquired by Western Digital. So now we have the ability to deliver through things like Nexenta a lot of spinning disk and a lot of different flash platforms, different form factors of different types. And one of the things that makes our partnership with Nexenta so strong is that we're really focused on those core storage components, and Nexenta puts that layer over the top that allows us to present that storage to our consumers. But for the core focus of this discussion, we'll stick with the InfiniFlash. So why is the InfiniFlash such a great flash option? Well, it's really, as Eric alluded to earlier, it's almost like a JBOF. Within a 3U frame, we can fit 512 terabytes of flash. But the nicety to this is that it does scale. We also have 8 SAS connections on the back. They are 12 gig SAS connections. So that allows a lot of different deployment flexibility. Sometimes when you go off and you're buying the flash arrays, you're forced to immediately leverage volume creation and then going to the protocol du jour, whether it's iSCSI or Fiber Channel or even putting out a filer. Well, here you have control of that layer over the top of the flash. So using things like Nexenta make this a very viable storage target. What are we talking about? We're talking about incremental growth. When you look at the top of the InfiniFlash unit, you can see all of the cards that line up in there. There are actually 64 8-terabyte cards in the latest revision of the InfiniFlash. We would scale in 64 terabyte increments, and it allows us really to have a customer start at 64 terabyte and grow to 512 at their own pace. Now, when you're using things like an Nexenta, your growth rate, you have to kind of monitor that, right? Because you want to build in things like parity and erasure code protection and things like that. So you won't be a pure 64, that's 64 ROTs on a pure 64 available storage upgrade, but you work out through your configuration of Nexenta how you want that storage to be presented. One of the reasons that this is such a nice target for DRaaS is because in a read environment, an intense 4K read environment, you can get 2 million IOPS out of a fully populated InfiniFlash and approximately 12 gigabytes a second of aggregate throughput on your reads. It really is important for teams like Peak 10 to be able to meet those RPO, RTO times. And in order to do that, they have to have a very fast read target. The InfiniFlash delivers that. And we deliver that through a variety of flavors, but we really have a partner platinum stack that we work with, and Nexenta is part of that stack. We really offer this chassis at really the lowest dollar per IOP per terabyte of flash storage on the market. And when you start going out and investigating all of the other storage platforms and then come back and look at the InfiniFlash, what you'll see is a very dense target that's not only CapEx focused, but it's OpEx focused. And what do I mean by that? Well, we can actually power the unit at a standard run rate of 450 watts. At max load, it's at 750. That's actually less power consumed than your microwave. So when you start looking at the overall cost of the solution, we significantly reduce the cost impact when we put this in play. Now, there are spinning disk models out there that actually consume more power, deliver your data at a much slower rate, and actually take up more room than the InfiniFlash. So for people that are used to going out and running out and buying the 15 and the 10K spindles just to get the speed you need on RTRPO disk-based solutions, the InfiniFlash is a far better alternative. Not only can we come close in terms of price, but our overall total cost of ownership is below that of spinning disk from a power and cooling constraint type of metric. And of course, this supports Nexenta. So we, as now a member of the Western Digital HGST SanDisk family, are also an investor in Nexenta. So we have a very strong partnership, and we work tightly with them in the field to deliver solutions like the one we're delivering to Peak 10. What are we talking about when we talk about the InfiniFlash? We're talking about less than a 0.15% AFR. It's 10 times better than spinning disk. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the Charter Prime spinning disk at HGST, it's our helium spindles. They have a 0.35% AFR, and they lead the market for HDDs. So this flash is far more durable. You will get more life out of it. We save you about 33 to 50% on cooling and power costs because of the way the box is architected and the way the flash is laid out in the box. And with our ICE chip that we have embedded on the flash cards, we actually reduce your rebuild times. So when you're deploying things like an Nexenta over the top in one of the RAID configurations that Eric mentioned, or even using some form of other type of erasure code, we actually have the ability to deliver faster rebuild times with our special ICE chip technology. So it's very advantageous for long-term data retention and protection, especially when using a platform like Nexenta, which is meant to do data integrity checks while data is at rest. This is meant as a true DR solution. It is meant to take this data and preserve it over long periods of time, and a lot of these mechanisms feed into that overall architecture. I wanted to place this last slide here so you can kind of see how this looks. What you see is the two NexentaStor heads. We have an active and a passive. You can grow that up to 2 petabytes underneath that head pair. Why do people do that? Why are they looking at this solution? Well, it delivers all the protocols that you could ask for: NFS, CIFS, Fiber Channel, iSCSI. And it comes with all of these wonderful enterprise-grade features: thin provisioning, compression, snapshot, replication, and it scales up very cleanly through SAS connectivity. People are looking at this because as this flash technology becomes less and less expensive and more efficient, it's going to supplement the spinning disk. And Nexenta gives you that variety of flavors that you need for storage presentation to best leverage this type of technology, especially in a DRaaS environment.
Right.
And I think now it's time to hand it back to Chad.
Yep, thanks, Bill. So Chad's going to be going over with us their Peak 10's mentality and things that they were looking for a DRaaS solution. So Chad, do you want to kind of walk us through your decision-making process?
Yeah. So here we get to some of the more fun parts of the conversation. So we're going to actually probably circle back and echo some of the parts that Eric and Bill both called out here. I'm going to tell a bit of a story here for a second. So this actually incubated for us for about 14 or 16 months. So in late 2014, we became aware of the InfiniFlash platform. We had other SanDisk solutions, so it was just normal updates to an account team. And we were really intrigued by the point that Bill just mentioned, 512 terabytes of durable flash in 3U. This is 2 years ago. That was definitely something that felt game-changing to us that we could deliver. It was still early in its maturity model, and it wasn't quite known, at least to us, that it was going to be JBOD or JBOF or have its own controllers. So we definitely put it high on our watch list. We knew we had future design, revamps in front of us, and that could be a big changer there. At the same time, we had team members that were aware of NexentaStor. They're playing with NexentaStor, using NexentaStor in home labs, community edition. We oftentimes use it a lot in our POC lab. We would do new designs, test this, test that, and we would use NexentaStor as a storage solution. It was an easy way to provide storage from a rack mount this or that without having storage arrays galore in a lab environment. Everything we do at our scale requires automation. We can't be in UIs scaling the way we do. So the API integration was key to the Nexenta aspect, and we were able to do that almost day one with the solution. As we got into 2016, we talked about earlier, in doing a revamp of our recovery cloud and knowing where we were going with premium and prime advanced solutions, we needed that flash, that fast high-end storage. It was really good timing in that SanDisk came to market and said, look, we're going out as JBOD. We're going to partner up as a pre-qualified member partnership with Nexenta and come to market as a pair with a flash offering. The part we loved about this, and we've been looking at 6-8 months before that, was, as Eric mentioned, not getting locked into black box, not getting caught in a time where someone had to go to manufacturing based on Intel chips 2 versions earlier because of when they had to put a product out. So we can do whatever commodity Intel we wanted that we were familiar with. And if we needed more performance 8 months later, then we'd switch it out. You're not locked in. So we went requirements of a software-based solution, resilient, ZFS-based was a big win to us. And 3 terabytes for 512 tera flash it was just amazing for what we needed to do. When they came together as a partnership, we decided to go ahead and move forward with a proof of concept. We did performance testing, failure testing, ran through all of our use cases and needs, and it met our requirements. We made an initial selection of more than 700 terabytes of flash to deliver in several locations for our recovery cloud. So that was what got us to that selection of SanDisk and Nexenta. Next slide, please. The transition process was really seamless and easy for us in general when you talk about switching out a platform. It took us longer to rack, stack, and cable, as sometimes is the case, the hardware, than it did to drop the Nexenta bits, get it configured, and have storage presented. It's targeted at, here's the features, they're very simple to use, they're robust. The API made automation quick for us, so we were able to stand up 3 solutions and have them presenting storage in probably less than a business day. We were online and ready to test new migrations for RPO protection in some of our test stuff in production. Once we signed that off, met our needs, we began the migration through native software features in the DR tool and the hypervisor, and slowly migrated in a very controlled manner customer data from the old solution to the new solution. When it was done, we decommissioned. RPO was never affected in a negative way. Needless to say, RPOs got better. Customers were never prevented from failing over. It was a seamless migration, and we were live on all 3 platforms after the migration in under a couple weeks. Performance, from what our customers saw, remained constant, but was definitely improved from what we monitored. The business benefits are the most dynamic. The previous platform, which is what Bill was mentioning, to deliver a density of several hundred terabytes of storage per location, it was a balance of large enough spinning disks to get capacity, but also small enough spinning disks so we had a wide enough stripe of spinning IOPS to get performance. Flash cache front-ended, but over time, it just wasn't going to meet the future needs. It did well, it got us to where we were, but we had to replace it with something faster. Going to the flash solution, we deliver our reads typically almost continuously in sub-millisecond. Those are typically measured in microseconds today. We trend this day in, day out constantly on all of our platforms. This software solution, think about it, it's a DR solution protecting 2,500 VMs. It's copying constant writes. The change rate is very dramatic. You think about people doing tests, and now they're spinning up VMs, they're reading, they're writing, they're running performance scripts against databases. This can be a lot of abuse on a disk subsystem, so the disk is the biggest potential performance constraint. This is our workload is an 80-20 write, sequential write for the most part, and we keep our writes anywhere from 1 to 5 milliseconds, spiking here and there. That type of performance in a DR platform is not typical. Our environmental changes, again, as Bill called out, those were large. We went from 80 or 90 RU to deliver the same capacity storage down to 7. So we just saved a whole ton of space. That's important for us to also sell to our customers. We delivered the same capacity with more performance. Power, as Bill mentioned, we were, what was before several kilowatts was now below 1 with the 2 controllers and the storage. The simplification on a team to manage it was large. Whether we were multiplexing several arrays together to meet storage capacities, or it was one array that grew over time and had numerous storage presentations. We've all been there. It's I need more storage, I need more storage, I need more storage, and you get separate growing aggregate and LUNs and data stores over the course of time. Well, this is one big massive flash pool that we just use and consume as we need to. We're not tweaking knobs and dials and IOPS and Excel spreadsheets and math and this and that. It's just massive capacity and massive performance. That's a big time saver on an operations team. The biggest winner from all this is a customer. Sorry, Christina. Back one more. Our customers get the biggest benefits in their DR scenario. We've all been doing it for decades, right? You went out and you spent tons of money and you bought a whole bunch of capital and you installed a DR platform across the country, and you had to, especially if it was cold or warm, you had to keep up with it, patch updates, incremental growth, software updates. Did I change my design a year in? Did I do it in DR? I'm going to do a test failover, and does everything work as it's supposed to work? It was a lot of overhead on a company to manage a DR in that manner. So you go to an as-a-service offering. Typically, you're not going to spend the money in an as-a-service offering for a production performance matching platform. You're going to get application successfulness. You're going to test your application functionality, but you're not going to get the same performance you do in production in most cases. Companies aren't going to go out and do like-for-like performance in the DR setup as a service. What this brings us is the ability, in the cost-effective manner of Nexenta SDS and SanDisk and our Intel commodity compute, we can deliver a DR cost-effective solution, but customers are getting like-for-like performance. So they can, the IT director or CIO always goes to bed, with the next concern, what's going to bite me the next day? You can cross DR off that list fairly easily, knowing I can test 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, or whatever my requirement is. I can verify application functionality, and I can know my performance is going to meet all my customer needs. That's a big rest assuredness when you're thinking about your IT strategy as a leader in a company. So our biggest winners definitely are our customers. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of the 3 tiers we talked about earlier. So you see on the left-hand side, the premium tier, it's dedicated compute, so think single tenancy, 2-hour RTOs, 5 nines across all the platforms, and as well as testing and use cases, or testing and disaster use of the platform is metered, so it's consumption-based. I want to do a DR test for 6 days. Okay, fine, 6 days. Use it, pay for it as you use it. And then scaling all the way to the essentials tier on the right, where the compute is shared, it's multi-tenancy, RTO is 8 hours, and it's also a metered test case. There in the middle, the prime tier includes 2 tests and 2 weeks of disaster use a year. So someone picking a prime tier can say, look, I'm going to do recurring tests, routine tests. I know I'm going to do them. I don't want to pay a metered aspect. And they might pick prime for, obviously, maybe tier 1, 2 applications, some premium and some essentials, so they can mix and match. So this is the benefits this platform has brought to our DR platform for our customers. And that's it on the Peak 10 DRaaS, the tiers, and how we got to where we were.
Great, thank you, Chad.
If there's a contact us, so obviously any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yep, yeah, so if you guys are curious to reach out to them, might want to take a snapshot of that page, which is now gone. I want to take a snapshot of this page just to be able to reach out to Chad and the team at Peak 10. So one thing that we all did together with Peak 10, SanDisk, and Nexenta is we reached out to IDC, and IDC did a buyer's case study on Peak 10's deployment. And in that case study, there is extensive feedback and analysis from Eric Bergener, who is an analyst at IDC. So if you want to see a somewhat objective perspective on what Peak 10 did and their overall solution and how it impacted them, please reach out to that. Check out that URL, www.nexenta.com/IDC-Peak10, and you'll be able to pull that down pretty easily. So finishing up for our discussion today, we have several questions that were submitted into the GoToWebinar. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of these questions. So starting with, so this one's for Chad. Chad, what is a vendor support like when working with multiple separate partners versus an all-in-one solution?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We had that same question as we were going through this. It's Nexenta and SanDisk work really well together. They've got a back channel between them. So whether we open a SanDisk case for maybe a failed drive or an Nexenta case for a question, they're working behind the scenes amongst themselves, coming to the proper solution, make sure both platforms are aligned with the answer. And it's always timely, it's efficient, and it's always been accurate. So they've worked really well together in that back channel method, so we don't have to open two parallel cases and manage it ourselves. The two manufacturers work it together as a team.
Cool, thank you. Another question. This one's for me probably. What do you install Nexenta on top of? So Nexenta, like I mentioned, is an operating system. We install that on servers. So in Peak 10's case, they're leveraging Cisco servers. So remind me, Chad, which ones you're using?
C240, M4s, yep.
Thank you. So they're leveraging C240s. So we install our operating system onto the C240. That then gets connected via SAS to the InfiniFlash JBODs on the back end. And then through PCI cards in the back of the C240s, we either provide fiber channel connectivity or in Peak 10's case, IP connectivity. IP can handle iSCSI or NFS or SMB connectivity. The fiber channel card will be leveraging a fiber channel block. So this one's for Chad again. Have you done any maintenance, routine maintenance while in production, such as a drive replacement, software updates, or expansions? And what was that like?
Yeah, we've been through several. So we've done a software update on the NexentaStor. So we've gone from 404 to 405. We did that obviously live. There was a failover and failback, no impact to any of the platforms, RPO or any availability. We have done a drive replacement. I'll leave that to Bill. Maybe it'll tell us, but I guess Flash either fails at the very beginning or the very end. We had one drive fail early on. We did a replacement, and the platform resilvered, and RAID was restored, and off we went. No issues. Did it live while the platform was up. We've also done capacity additions. We have one unit that is now up to 384 terabytes. That was alive on the fly. We added 8 new cards to it. Updated the license on Nexenta, added the storage, expanded the ZFS pool, and off it went, completely on the fly. No impact on any of the platforms.
Bill, you want to discuss drive failures on the InfiniFlash for our audience?
Oh, yeah, sure. Drive failures, depending on the SDS that you choose to use, and in this case it was Nexenta. We identify the card. Chad and his team walk over, and it's a rack mount. It slides right out. You take the lid off, you remove the failed card, and you can replace it with a new one. It also allows, because it's hot swappable, it also allows us to expand in place without downtime, which is something that Chad and his crew are now looking into. They're already expanding their flash footprint. And for a lot of customers that see biting off that full 512 terabyte apple right up front, it allows them to grow into it. So that hot swap capability that comes with replacing failed cards or expanding the unit itself comes in handy to a lot of our customers.
Great, thank you. Another question, what is the API made of? So this is probably, again, for me. So our API is provided to our customers through REST. So it's a REST API that's fully capable of integrating into your scripts and whatnot. It's something that can completely control the Nexenta SanDisk InfiniFlash solution for your infrastructure, and that really was one of the key things that Chad mentioned. Chad, you want to go a little bit into that? Just exactly what you're automating, what you're doing with the APIs?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do two pieces. So we automate the creation and addition of creating new exports. We use both iSCSI and NFS, so we have block and file. So we've automated the creation of new exports. We've automated the adding of IQNs to the iSCSI when it is block. We do telemetry monitoring, so we use Collecti and Grafana, and we are constantly graphing resource usage, capacity usage, down to latency and cache hit and so on. So we have a really in-depth insight to the platform in a somewhat remote, hands-off. We've got smart team members that get it all up and running, and it's actually very quick and efficient to get up and running. And then from there, we've got good insight to the platform to see what's going on, as well as manage it day to day.
Cool, thank you. So in the SDS world, moving to something like this is very different. So how did you guys get everybody on board compared to the traditional storage model?
Yeah, that's always the biggest hurdle, right? You're dealing with humans and change, and that's never an easy one. That just comes with adoption of, a lot of playing with it, getting familiar with it, and some of it's just operating the platform and seeing how simple it is. It's not a platform with 2,000 features and you use 20 of them. There's a lot of core robust features that are key to what we need to use. It's a very simple platform, with a good history there on ZFS. It's stable and robust, and it's one of those things where there's change. It takes time to learn and get comfortable. But Nexenta is really, they do a good job of locking you out of things. I don't mean that in a bad way, but they give you certain shells you can do to not hurt yourself, but you have all the features you need to run the platform. So you're not overwhelmed with 4,000 commands that you don't know what they do. You have access to what you need to do to manage the platform, and it makes it a streamlined, easier approach to learn and get comfortable with it.
Another person asks, do you have any performance data for the Nexenta InfiniFlash solution that you can share, and how does it compare to other competitors? So yes, we do have that data. The only thing we ask is that for customers who are interested in seeing that, we just want to, we ask that that you sign an NDA, and we can absolutely share that data with you. If you want more information, please reach out to us, and we can engage you and give you that information, and hopefully educate you more on the overall solution. And then finally, unless there's another question that comes through, finally, Chad, have you explored Nexenta and Western Digital solutions for other workloads within your data center or within your business?
We have. So we are a Fusion IO user as well. So we have that technology here that obviously came through acquisition. We have newer 5.0 NexentaStor platforms also running as we're looking to do different things with them. So we have NexentaStor 4 and 5. And there's also some interest on our aspect of Nexenta's Edge product, which is more of an erasure coding solution. So that's of interest to some of our engineering folks as well. So as we get away from that black box buy it all model, we continue to drive that more of that build it model, letting us pick the best of all worlds on the top of the shelves here and there, layering in SDS, layering in storage as we need, whether it's fast or spinning based on use case, and then the necessary Intel compute where we see fit. And that's it's getting to be a good recipe for us to deliver a platform that meets our needs, but the cost effectiveness is what enables our customers to be the real winners.
Wonderful, thank you. If you guys have any more questions, those of you in the audience, please reach out to us, and we can hopefully answer them either via email or through a phone call. Feel free to reach out to the Peak 10 team if you're interested in their services, or to Nexenta and SanDisk. I want to thank Chad, I want to thank Bill for their time today, and obviously thank you as well for your time to listen to our stories and listen to what we're doing in the infrastructure world. Hopefully all this information was useful to you, and we'll be following up. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of the week. Thank you.